Shall we start? Okay. Oh. Oh. Oh, I see. Okay. Wow. Yes, it is. Very. Welcome. I am Beverly Walker of the League of Women Voters of Whittier. The Whittier League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization whose purpose is to promote the informed and active participation of citizens in government. We put on candidates forums as part of our voter service activity so that people can listen to and question the people vying to represent them in local government. Our city government is supposed to provide services to the residents and structure and planning for the effective operation and development of the city. Local elected council persons are just that, local, and should be accessible to their constituents who elect them. We're happy to see all of you here tonight and also welcome our TV and video audience. Before we begin the forum, Margot Reig of the League of Women Voters will give a brief overview of the new features in the voting procedures for the primary election. Okay, Margot.
Thank you. The election in March will be conducted quite differently from the way we have been doing elections for the last something like 50 years when the IBM card was invented. The first thing that you will notice is that everybody in Whittier received a vote-by-mail ballot automatically. The reason is that our congressional district, is this one not turned on? There's my switch.
If it's not here, then it's up there. If they're working there. I'll give you back to the guy.
Okay, thanks. Everyone in Whittier received a vote-by-mail ballot because our congressional district, CD 38, laps over into Orange County. And all the candidates in Orange County are getting all the voters in Orange County are getting vote-by-mail ballots. Because of that, everybody within the congressional district has to be treated exactly the same. So all of Whittier, as well as La Mirada and La Habra Heights and some of the other cities that are within that district will be getting vote-by-mail ballots. Mine has already come, and my sample ballot has already come. This is the sample ballot. It has good instructions in it for how to use the new voting device, which is a ballot marking device. That means that nothing is recorded on the ballot marking device, touch screen, or the setup that's in the polling place. You will be able to call up any of 13 languages to see your ballot or hear your ballot. You will be able to increase the font size if you need it for visual purposes, and you will produce a paper ballot with your choices on it. You will have the opportunity to check your ballot on the touch screen and make sure that all your choices are what you want. And if they aren't, you touch that choice and it erases it, and then you can touch the one that you do want. It will record it when you're ready to have it printed on the piece of paper. You can compare the paper with the screen. You can read through the entire piece of paper and check to make sure that everything on there is exactly what you want. If it's not, you may take it to the ballot clerk and exchange it for a fresh ballot. Put that back in the device and revote it. Then, when you're satisfied that everything on your paper ballot is just the way you want it, you hit cast ballot and your ballot will go into a slot and into a locked ballot box, which will be picked up by the Registrar Recorder's office every day. They are secure. The machines are not hackable at all. And I think you'll find that using the machine is pretty intuitive. Your sample ballot gives you very good instructions for how to use it. And you will be given a palm card as you go into the polling place, also with the instructions on it. And there will be ambassador-type employees there who will be able to help you if you need some further instruction. Now, the other thing that's new is that we will be having a lot of early voting. Balloting at the polling place goes on for 11 days, from February 22nd through March the 3rd. You may go to any vote center in the entire county. So you can go near your work. You can go when you're commuting via light rail. You can go to your local vote center when you're out shopping. And the electronic roster that the county has chosen to use will sign you in. You will be writing on a screen, and it will check that you have voted that day. And then if you mail your vote by mail ballot and it comes in after that moment when you signed in, it will not be counted. So and you cannot go from one polling place to another polling place and try voting again, because this electronic roster book will record that you have voted at the specific location and time that you walked in and voted. One of the things that you should know is that every voter or every household in LA County should have gotten a booklet like this or will soon. This booklet lists all the vote centers in the entire county. If it's starred, it means it's open for 11 days. If it's not starred, it's open for Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, February 29 through March the 3rd. The two vote centers that are open in Whittier for 11 days are the First United Methodist Church right across from Central Park and the East Whittier United Methodist Church on Cole Avenue, which is really close to Office Depot on Whittier Boulevard. So you just go past Office Depot down to the East Whittier Methodist Church. They will be open 11 days. The 4-day ones include places like Palm Park, the YMCA, Murphy Ranch School, Orange Grove School, the Whittier Union High School District, and that list is actually posted on the City of Whittier website. So if you go to cityofwhittier.org, you can find the entire list. The entire list is also in here, listed by city. So you are encouraged to vote. You can vote by mail and mail your ballot. You can vote by mail and take your ballot to a vote center. You can vote by mail and take your ballot to a secure ballot drop-off location, such as the Whittier Public Library. So there are a lot of ways to participate in this March election, and the important thing is to become informed and then cast your ballot and be part of democracy. Thank you.
Thank you, Margot. And remember, you may vote your vote by mail ballot and mail it or drop it off at a secure ballot drop-off site, such as the library, or you may vote in person during the 11-day voting period, which begins on February 22nd. All candidates running for the full 4-year terms in Districts 1 and 3 and the 2-year mayor position have been invited to participate this evening. They have agreed to abide by the rules sent out in the invitation. This is an opportunity for residents to learn more about the candidates before casting their ballots in the March 3 election. We will hear our candidates for mayor first. Our candidates for mayor are Joe Vinatieri, Rolando Cano, Luis Reyes, Christine Singer Luna, and Leon Savage. We will begin the evening by hearing opening statements from each of the candidates. They've been asked to state why they're running for Whittier City Council, or in this case, mayor, and to identify the most pressing issues facing the city in the next 2 years. Following the 2-minute opening statements will be a question period during which written questions from the audience will be fielded by the candidates. And our staff this evening includes question sorters Delia Morales, Sally Rivera, Barbara Guile. Our timekeepers are Kathy Kingett and Kay Kidwell. The ushers who pass out the question cards that you can write on are Margot Rieg, Dee Dee Shatson, Paula Ocampo. And I'm not sure if there's anyone else. But anyway, we've got pretty well stocked tonight. So, the audience questions must be written. They may be addressed to a specific candidate, and after the candidate answers, others may choose to answer. Answers are limited to 1 minute each. The closing statements will be in the reverse order of opening, 1 minute each. Remember, the candidates for Whittier Mayor and City Council will be first on your ballot. Thank you for all the candidates for participating in this forum and the other forums held in Whittier. The mayoral candidates have drawn cards, so we determine their order of speaking. Number 1 is Mr. Reyes. Number 2 be Mr. Vinatieri. Number 3, Ms. Singer Luna. Number 4, Mr. Cano. And number 5, Mr. Savage. And when you do your closing statement, we'll do it in the reverse order. So we will start with Mr. Reyes, your opening statement.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting tonight and everyone that's tuning in. It's really important for us to get to know the issues. My name's Luis Reyes, and I'm called Whittier my home for 28 years. I'm married, have 2 children, and 4 generations of my family live in Whittier. We care deeply about the city. I attended Rio Hondo College, sought leadership there, ASB president, student trustee about 20 years ago, and transferred to USC and graduated with a degree in public policy and management. Afterwards, I worked for the local assembly member in a management capacity as a district director for several years, then worked around for government, and then during the Great Recession, was recruited to work for the local senator to do legislative consulting and manage budget issues during that time period. The last 10 years, I've really focused on my own business to have flexibility to be with my children. I own a communications firm, and I do a lot of work in creating two-way communications with various entities. Locally, I was a co-founder of Whittier Latino Coalition, been involved in Sustainable Cities and other grassroots organizations. I decided to run for office because I believe I can do better and make some positive change in the city. My priorities are addressing the homeless crisis, increasing public safety, protecting the environment, and continuing government reform at the local level. Thank you.
Thank you. The next candidate is Mr. Vinatieri.
Thank you and good evening, and thanks to the League for this opportunity. It's been and is an honor to be your mayor. I'm positive. I like the direction we're going. I like the momentum we have. We're moving forward. A couple things. The Groves, right on schedule. We'll change West Whittier. We'll have a big impact on Uptown. The new Central Library just down the street, right on schedule. We've been waiting all these years. It's coming true. Uptown changes, new parking structure for new businesses. The streetscape plan we have uptown. And we have a new city manager, young, lots of energy. But we also have challenges, and I don't need to say, everyone knows number one issue is homelessness. And we've had some success, at least with respect to families. And between partners, the Whole Child Salvation Army, Women and Children's Crisis Shelter, as well as Imagine Whittier, we are doing well with our families. But we've had difficulty with adults. And I don't need to tell you about the Greenbelt and Parnell Park. We've got a plan. We're working on it, and it's evolving and changing, and you're going to hear more about that this evening. But we have more work to do. Public safety is our number one responsibility, and we need more police officers on the street. People mover around Whittier, the Groves, Uptown, et cetera. Autonomous vehicle, Gold Line. Great news on the Gold Line just this last week. But we also need fiscal stability for our city. And, of course, we need the Greenway Trail East extension. So what's most important? Our families. Our families are most important. And this needs to be a great place to raise families. As I go door to door, I'm meeting these families, and I'm hearing what they have to say. I'm positive. I like what's going on. I like the momentum we have. We're moving forward. So I ask, join with me for city mayor vote on March 3rd. If you got an absentee ballot, go for it. Send it in. Thank you.
Thank you. The next candidate is Ms. Singer Luna.
Thank you. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for having this forum tonight, city staff for making sure it all works seamlessly, and you, my neighbors, for deciding to be involved and vote for your local government. Hi, my name is Christine Singer Luna, and I am running for mayor of Whittier. When I am out door knocking and connecting with the people of Whittier, they ask me, why are you running for mayor first? Why not city council? I then go on to share my experiences, including I am a cultural arts commissioner appointed by our city council. I have worked for the Whittier Uptown Association and joined the Uptown Whittier Improvement Association as a concerned citizen because our merchants and citizens deserve safety and clean streets. I have participated in various fundraisers for our local nonprofits, such as Celebrity Waiter for CAPC, Dancing with the Whittier Stars for the Whittier Community Foundation, and the annual Christmas Toy Drive for the Boys and Girls Club, to name a few. I am the Vice President of Membership and Community Relations for Temple Beth Shalom of Whittier, the only Jewish institution that's been in Whittier for over 60 years. I have also been attending city council meetings for the last 2 years, establishing relationships with people who work at City Hall. I know that entering this position isn't just a change to the council, it's a change to how the city as a whole is run. One woman then told me, oh, I didn't ask if you were qualified. You sound pretty qualified. I want to know why mayor. The truth is, I love Whittier. I love my town so much, I decided to run for office, and that's not an easy thing. I hope that tonight I earn your vote to be the next mayor of Whittier. The most important issues to us now are homelessness, public safety, and fixing our financial crisis. Every decision I will make is based off of what's best for Whittier and the majority of its residents. Well, what's the best for Whittier, they ask? Christine Singer Luna as your next mayor. Please tag us tonight on Instagram and Facebook at Christine for Whittier and visit christineforwhittier.com for more information. Thank you.
The next candidate is Mr. Cano.
Hi, good evening, folks. First and foremost, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters of Whittier and the Whittier branch of the American Association of University Women for this great candidate forum. I'm here because, like many of you, we see the issues that are occurring throughout our city. And it is a huge responsibility for people that live here in Whittier and our leadership to know how to deal with this homeless issue. We hear constant reminders on how national this is, how this problem comes from the state, from the county, but I believe and I want to present a plan that would work here in Whittier. We're small enough where this can work and strong enough to make it work, which is to become Boise compliant. What does that mean? It means that instead of trying to bypass a directive given by a judge in Boise, we attack it head on and we create a plan where we create a shelter run by the city to be able to enforce our laws and our ordinances here in Whittier. Now, there's 3 levels on why I'm running. My platform consists of education with an emphasis on special education to ensure an alignment between the IEP plan, 504 plan, and ensure that we close that gap on graduation because right now we have a low level of graduation when it comes to special needs students. My second platform is commerce. I want to ensure that we set vacancy increase in taxation to ensure that these buildings that have remained closed for many years become functional, become part of our society instead of a temporary shelter for someone that's broken in or as a drug haven. And last, the homelessness. Like I said, you're going to hear it from me. Hopefully you hear it down the line, but I want to make us Boise compliant because no one else is talking about it. We have a solution and ability to make it work. And with your help, vote for Rolando Cano on March 3rd or now to ensure that we push this forward and become the leaders in all of California.
Our next candidate is Mr. Savage.
Thank you, Ms. Beverly. Hi, my name is Isaiah L. Leon Savage. Should I be elected mayor, my first order of business is to put 480 policemen on the police department, which will put us back at 10% of what we had from 95 all the way to 2004, which was 1,600. Second order of business is to renegotiate a far better deal with the state than they have with us now. As far as, and the concern is the child predators here. I have to say it, I'm sorry. The child predators here, my goal is to remove these people from our community because we have the third largest school district in Southern California. That means we have more children per capita. So, yeah, the police department is first priority because I believe the community needs to be safe. And a nation is only strong as its defenses. So goes the same for the community. I came to Whittier in '92 after leaving, 2 years after leaving the military. In that 2 years' time, I had a bookstore in Los Angeles, California. After the riots, I came to Whittier. It took me 5 years to realize what was going on here. And if anyone has ever looked at the State of the Union, and if you caught the State of the Union, this past State of the Union, you know that Whittier is in trouble. I told you this in 2016. I mentioned it to you in 2018. Here we are now in 2020. California, by order of Governor Newsom, was declared a sanctuary state, which means these are sanctuary cities that we're living in right now. I plan to change that once I'm elected. My name's Isaiah L. Leon Savage, and that's why I'm running for mayor of Whittier, to protect this town.
Thank you. So we will now start with the questions which have been submitted.
Panel question first.
The panel question, yes, yes. Okay, we have a couple of those that came from our panel down here. The first one,
Here, Delia.
Delia's gonna, okay, yeah, great.
Is this on? Can you hear me? Yes. Okay.
Okay, Delia.
Should the mayoral position in Whittier remain as a 2-year elected position, or should the term be changed to 4 years? Why?
Okay, we'll start with Mr. Reyes.
Well, that's a good question. It involves charter reform. I've been an advocate for charter reform because of districts and advocated for districts. I would have preferred 5 districts and had a rotating mayor. I think that would have been more equitable. The mayor currently, as it stands, to answer the question, 2 years seems to be fair, but as we move it to a consolidated election, there's a possibility of having it 4 because then we have more turnout. But then that would be required for the vote of the people, and the will of the people is what I would support on charter reform. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vinatieri?
That's a great question. A great question. So everyone understands we have the 4 districts and a citywide elected mayor. The mayor is responsible to make sure that all of the Whittier, all the city is treated fairly and the same. One of the issues that's happened since I was elected as your first mayor is more and more and more and more time is involved because people say, you're elected mayor, you must be like Eric Garcetti, so therefore I'm calling you. Well, the reality is it isn't that way. This is still basically more an honorary kind of situation. The issue becomes how much time it takes to really do the job. I will tell you, just from my own experience, the first time round, it took me several months to just relax. I then had several months where I could just go ahead and start working on some initiatives with the council and trying to be collaborative. And then before we knew it, it was time to run again. And since now we've gone to the consolidated election with the county, it is nonstop running. It almost seems like you're on the cycle around and around. What it's done, it does not enable me to do all the things I need to do citywide and to provide that citywide leadership. So I think it'd be a really good thing if we went to the 4 years. It would entail changing the charter, but I think it makes a lot of sense because it allows people to have more stability and to do the citywide job that needs to be done.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Singer-Luna?
Yes, absolutely. Got to get used to pressing that button, I guess. Okay. Yes, absolutely. I do think that was a great question. Thank you very much. I've been planning for 2 years, for 2-year terms. So when my hope is that I'm elected this cycle and, I have 2 re-election cycles. I've been planning for 6 years. I don't disagree that, it's very tiring and it's very time consuming to run a campaign. As a first time grassroots candidate, I feel you on that. It is, it's a lot of work talking to people and getting out there and having monthly coffee with the candidates since August. So I get it. That being said, I'd like the 2-year term. And if our current council decides to change the 4-year term prior to April, that's a different decision. But I like the 2-year term. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cano?
Hi, thank you for that question. Actually, this is something that surprises many of us. We wonder why our city runs the way it does, but the way most government agencies run, you focus ahead on a 10-year plan. You plan and you start litigating for change or whatever direction the city wants to take within a 5-year plan, and then you work within a 3-year plan. But when you're sitting in a position for a long time, it becomes an issue. So I do agree with the 2-year span for the mayoral position. But at the same time, the reason why I agree with that, it's because if our city doesn't go in the right direction, the people have the right to redirect that. Because the mayoral seat stands for a position. It's leadership. We decide what goes on the agenda, we direct our city, and we listen to you. And if we're not listening, we shouldn't have to wait 4 years to remove you. Not just that, we should impose a limit, a term limit. Because like I said, right now, currently, city's not doing as well as it should. So we need to make that decision March 3rd, which is, should we change this direction? What do we need to do? But understanding the way the system works, working within a 3-year plan and changing the direction should be up to the people, and we should remain with a 2-year plan.
Thank you. Mr. Savage?
Yes, 2 years is fine. 2 years would be a good time to put the police department in place, denounce being a sanctuary city, abandon Agenda 2030, which is formerly known as Agenda 21. I will be on board for 4 years to hold all that in place. It would probably take at least 3 years to bring the police department back up to speed to a solid 1,400 police officers. We have the money. That would be my reason for wanting to serve for 4 years. But 2 years is fine because we can get a lot done in 2 years. And one of the things that we can get done in 2 years is make a stronger police department. Another thing we can get done in 2 years, because Whittier has over 80,000 people living here and working here, have property here. So we have really good petition power. So should the state impose anything that we as a community don't like, we have enough people to petition the state saying that's not it. Like, the 1,897 child predators that they have living here in Whittier. So I would be in support of a 4-year term. However, I can get a lot done in 2. But it would take the other 2 to make sure it didn't come apart.
Okay, thank you. So are there any more questions? Okay. So we will begin with the questions which were submitted earlier. This one has to do with traffic. It says, traffic congestion along Whittier Boulevard, Mar Vista, and Colima is horrible and is becoming worse, especially at certain times of the day. The backup on Mar Vista to turn onto Colima and the backup on Colima to proceed through the Mar Vista intersection or to turn onto Mar Vista have become huge bottlenecks, with numerous light changes having to be made to proceed. What ideas do you have for alleviating these situations? An upcoming situation will also be the bottleneck created at Whittier Boulevard and Philadelphia with the completion of the Groves. What is being planned to head off a problem there? So we will start with Mr. Reyes.
Thank you. Transportation is going to increase, and it's been increasing for years, if not decades. And with the advancement of technology, you have people getting moved towards what's the fastest area. One of the things that we need to work on is getting people out of cars and have walkable communities, adjust more livable streets where we have other accesses. We're getting a lot of commuting through the east cities to the downtown metropolitan area, and that's causing traffic. And we need to mitigate that with people movers. We can mitigate that with shared ride sharing and other items so that we have less traffic in their streets. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Vinatieri?
That's a great question, and we hear it a lot. And by the way, we have something to celebrate. Hacienda Boulevard is supposed to open up in just a couple weeks. And oh, did it change?
It's actually technically open tonight.
Oh, it's open tonight.
Okay.
Okay. So be careful, though. Be careful, because a lot of the animals they're going across the street and they don't know there's traffic's coming. So they were talking about that actually earlier today. So Hacienda, that's going to help a lot on Colima, big time. But a lot of course, is cut through traffic ways. I don't know if you've seen it, but coming down Turnbull Canyon Road, well, there's all kinds of cars when the 60 is backed up. So what's the most important thing to do right now? Traffic signalization. For all of you, important thing, go down Lambert Road. That's signalized. Beverly Boulevard will be signalized into LA. And we need to come up with alternatives like a people mover around Whittier so you don't have to get in your car and shuttle around. You can just get on transportation.
Thank you. Ms. Singer-Luna?
Thank you for that wonderful question. This button, I'm telling you. Thank you for the wonderful question. Yes, absolutely. I've been saying, so in this process, we've had 3 or 4 different forums. And in the Cleaner, Greener, Whittier Forum, I advocated, yes, for a people mover, yes, for the Gold Line. These are all great ideas, just like these gentlemen said. And my goal as your mayor would be to obviously promote that super hard. But not just that. Yes, we have a lot of vehicles. A lot of those vehicles are emitting a carbon footprint, right? So let's work on transitioning to our city vehicles to electric vehicles and bringing in more electric vehicle charging stations into the city. From what I know, there's already talk of developing one in Uptown Whittier, which is great and exciting. And we have more and more people throughout our community that are transitioning into electric vehicle chargers, electric vehicle cars, and so they need those charging stations. So, my solution would obviously be to continually support the Metro Gold Line and work with surrounding cities. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cano?
You know what? I actually get to experience this daily. I live on a street that used to once be designated as a 15-mile-per-hour area, and our city decided to kick it up to 30 miles an hour. People used to walk through there, and we still try. We attempt it, but you have to watch out in peak hours around from 7 to about 9 o'clock, 5 to 7. You get just these cars shooting down the street. Same thing happens on Beverly Boulevard, Washington, and Whittier. But what should we be doing? How about do what some of the other cities have done, like Downey, and we have other cities like in Brea where they slow it down. They slow it down and they walk around because they realize that all you have to do is look at an app and it tells you how to take a shortcut. And sad to say, right now those shortcuts are through our general streets, are in front of our homes. So we need to start looking at slowing down some of these areas, not just to benefit the population that's walking, but also our businesses.
Thank you. Mr. Savage?
Well, first, I'd stop the building of the Gold Line. That should not end in Whittier. It shouldn't even come to Whittier. And it will actually cause more congestion instead of less. Secondly, it's not off topic, I wouldn't build that parking structure because that was a natural habitat for an endangered species. That new one where they tore all the pine trees down, the white owl, it lived in the Salvation Army building in the tower. So I would put that natural habitat back because it needs to be put back before the Federal Reserve comes and sues the city for destroying a natural habitat of an endangered species.
Thank you. I was asked to change the order of answering, so we will start this next time with Ms. Singer Luna, then come to Mr. Vinatieri, Mr. Reyes, and then go to Mr. Savage and Mr. Cano. All right?
I have the button on.
Okay. So the next question has to do with taxes. Please explain your support or opposition to Measure W, the 0.75% increase in the sales tax charged in Whittier. Are you concerned that it does not have a sunset provision? Ms. Singer Luna.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that. The financial crisis is no one entity's fault. In fact, we are not placing the blame onto anyone. Thinking for the best, Whittier, requires abandoning that negative mindset that we are stuck in this financial crisis. So now let's think about opportunity and growth. So currently, a short-term solution is increasing the sales tax, Measure W, by 0.75%. I am not in support because I believe that we can do better. And a better way to apply a sales tax is by having the funds go into a special account that's specifically aimed to certain goals, and for there to be an end date or a sunset on the tax. Depending on the outcome of this measure on the ballot, we can then study alternatives or a backup plan. But really, I do not support it, and I believe that it is a regressive tax that will disproportionately affect individuals that cannot afford to leave Whittier. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vinatieri?
Thank you. So the question is, do you support it, and what about the sunset? So Whittier's always had a balanced budget, up until just a couple of years ago when we started getting hit with PERS surcharges as a result of PERS and their inability to deal with their investment policies in Sacramento. In other words, another situation from Sacramento. So what do? Do we raise taxes? I don't like raising taxes. I think money does better in your pocket than in the cities. But the problem is, this is taxophornia. And LA County, every tax measure that's come by recently has been voted yes. So the issue becomes, if we don't look out for ourselves, if we don't take care of ourselves here, that money is going to go somewhere else rather than stay here. That's the most important thing for us. And you know what that's going to enable us to do? We're going to be able to deal with the PERS situation, but we're also going to be able to hire more police officers. I'm going to be watching it very closely because we need this sales tax increase. And if it goes too far, then we're going to say stop.
Thank you. Mr. Reyes?
I support Measure W, just to answer directly. One of the things working for the state Senate and dealing with the crisis, it's been an issue that's of growth since back then. I mean, our local city, Pico Rivera, did the sales tax measure early on, and they adjusted their budgets, and you can see their quality of life and what the city provides is taken care of. CalPERS, most public employees are in CalPERS, city of CalPERS. This city has CalPERS. So we should have addressed it early on and adjusted our budget. I think that it's needed because we're just kind of leveraged into this area. And sunset, really, we need to look and see the long-term aspects of it and how do we, when council's on there, how it's spent appropriately. So that's the answer that I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Savage?
My answer would be no new taxes. The country has just got a 19% tax break, the first one, the biggest one in over 50 years. My plan is not to disrupt that. We've gone from paying 40% now to 21%. And it seems like there are those who are in positions of authority who want to take that away from us. I believe the people should enjoy the tax break. And then should things come along in the future that may need to rise, yeah. But I don't believe it should be taxed. We have a public pension liability fund that can be used. There's money here in Whittier that's being sat on that can be used to fulfill all the things that we need to get done in this community. But no new taxes. That's not the will of the people to have new taxes. And again, this is the first and the largest tax break in over 50 years.
Thank you. Mr. Kano?
All right, folks, this is a great question. And just so you know, I'm against Measure W, so vote no. And the biggest reason is just you got to see who's actually pushing forth this measure. Look it up. It's available on the city website. But the biggest reason why I do not support this measure is not because Whittier doesn't need the funding. It's because it's not dedicated to anything other than the general purse. So when you're told that it's going to go specifically for hiring new police officers, CalPERS, the library, social services, it's really not. It's going into a purse where the city council gets to decide. And how do I know this? I reached out to the city itself and I asked a specific question. I said, if the city council were to decide to spend every single dime on CalPERS, could they do it? They said, well, technically yes, because it ends up in a general fund. If it was a special tax, then it would be focused on one single issue, which could be police department or social services. But if you're living on a fixed income, you're in trouble.
Thank you. The next question has to do with homelessness. Is there a reason why it took so long for the council to Whittier to address the homeless crisis, to start addressing it? We will start with Mr. Savage.
Thank you, Ms. Beverly. Once we denounce Agenda 2030, which is Whittier subsidiary housing, once we are no longer considered a sanctuary city or a sanctuary state, the homeless problem will actually start to dwindle away. We have state institutions where some of these people really need to be to get the proper help so they can, won't be on the streets all volatile. And it's a volatile situation. That's about the long and short of it. I didn't really need that much time. It's just the homeless problem is because we're a sanctuary city. It's because we are under Agenda 2030. That's the one he said that the mandate to build the new houses, that's Agenda 2030. It's meant to wreck our community since 1995 when they incorporated half the town.
Thank you. Mr. Kano?
Okay, this is a great question, and like I said, I'm here to push becoming Boise compliant. What does that mean? It means that we were giving a directive, just like we do with our kids. We tell our kids, eat your vegetables or you don't get to play video games. Well, that's what this judge did. He said, do this, provide shelter for 60% of your homeless through the city, and you're able to impose your laws and regulations because these people would have an option. We're currently not doing that. By using our old police station, which we already pay for, has showers, lockers, it's a secure building within feet from the police station. Our city council is right in our backyard, and it would be in an area where you can provide services by our nonprofits. If we become compliant, we're able to enforce the law, vacate all these encampments that you see throughout the city, but more importantly, we clear a path to help those that want it. This is the direction, and this is the reason why we're here. We're here because we want something different, not the same excuses, same directive. It's a big issue. It's national. It's not.
Thank you. Ms. Singer Luna?
May I ask you to repeat the question one more time, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Is there a reason why it took so long for the council in Whittier to accept the fact that there is a homeless crisis, to start addressing it?
Thank you. So, we cannot solve homelessness alone as a city. There are so many cogs in the machine to the process, from LASA, the LA Homeless Services Authority, to Whittier First Day, our own homeless shelter. There are so many cogs in the machine of the process, but it will take time. And I know that we don't want to hear that, but it's the truth. If we create an emergency shelter, it won't happen overnight. Government takes a long time, but as long as we are moving little by little in the right direction, we will see the quality of life for all of our neighbors, homeless or not, improve. So, I don't know the reasons why City Council had or hadn't acted on this sooner. I'm not there, but hopefully Mayor Joe can share a little bit about that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Vinatieri?
And he will. So we've had a homeless plan since 2018, and it's obvious a lot of people aren't aware of it. First thing we tackled was homeless families. Do you see homeless families on the street? No, because they're being taken care of. I talked about that in my opening. And you didn't see lots of problems until the Boise case came down, because when there were encampments, people were moved along. When Boise came, it changed things. It meant we had a homeless emergency. So what do we do as a city council when it hit? We declared an emergency. That enables us to gather funds. And what have we done since then? We're in the process right now of looking at joining with Judge Carter in the Orange County litigation, which will protect Whittier, because once we have the number of beds we need in Whittier, what we're going to be able to do is not only enforce our law, but when Los Angeles downtown blows up and something's going to happen there, guess which way people are going to be coming? We need to protect Whittier. That's what we're doing right now. So a lot of the homeless thing is working well. We got the plan. We're doing it.
Thank you. Mr. Reyes?
I think it's political will and lack of political will to deal with the homeless issue and ahead of time. We did have a homeless plan that really didn't have much bite into it. We needed beds. We needed beds immediately, whether we augment a current nonprofit to get beds. One of the things that we need to stop looking at this issue is stop looking at the legal perspective and continue paying attorneys and getting people off the streets. That's what we need to do. We're spending way too much money giving attorneys money to figure out how to solve human issues. We need to solve that, get people off the streets immediately. The time that the council really took action is when they got the poll for the sales tax. It's the same day, and it was amazing watching it. Wow, we need to take action. Number one issue is homeless, because the poll told us. We should have did it way back a long time ago. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think we'll go back to the reverse order here. Or the regular order. Is that all right?
Sure.
Then I can remember which is which. Okay. This question has to do with traffic. A likely accident waiting to happen is the use of blinking yellow lights embedded in the street at pedestrian crossings. Think Beverly Boulevard and Hadley Street. Drivers are startled by them and sometimes cannot slow down and stop quickly enough for this to be a safe pedestrian crossing mechanism. They have apparently been installed as a money-saving measure instead of a regular stoplight, rather than an effective safety measure. Would you favor removing the blinking yellow lights in the street device and replacing it with standard stoplights? There is the real possibility that the current system is going to result in injury or death and lawsuits. Mr. Reyes.
That's a good question. I live right by Greenleaf where the trail, and they have a yellow crossing lights there, and I've crossed with my children, and people just ignore, because it's not that they don't want to do safety, it's because they're going too fast. And a red light going too fast, is that going to work? I think people just need to slow down, and we need to look at our fast areas and see how do we mitigate creating a safe street, whether it's we make it smaller so that it's harder for people to drive fast. We need to look at different alternatives that I think we haven't done as much throughout the city. But I do feel that sometimes the yellow lights work and sometimes they don't. Each issue is different, and we need to rely on the engineers, talk to the neighbors. We don't really talk to neighbors as much as we should. I think two-way communication is critical, and having that type of situation, each issue is different. So every situation, each neighborhood is all different. So we have to look at it from individual ways. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vinatieri?
let's talk about the blinking yellow. Let's talk about the one that's on Hadley right by Whittier High School. Do you know why we did that one? Because the high school came to us and said, you know what? We're really afraid of this, of something happening to one of our students. And the problem is we looked at doing a red light there. Think about it. You just had one at Pickering, and then now you're going westbound, which is downhill. And guess what people do? They speed. Same thing on Beverly Boulevard over on the west side before you get to the bend. That's why you have the blinking yellow there, so that the crosswalk is somewhat safe, because there used to be nothing there. Can you put a stoplight there? We looked at doing a stoplight, and there's engineering that has to be done with it. So number one issue for us is public safety. And so when we do the blinking yellow light, we look at alternatives other than the blinking yellow light. But when people are going too fast, they need to take responsibility, and that's why we have those there. So we looked at red lights, but this seems to be the safest thing to do at this point in time. When somebody wants to bring another to us, we'll look at it, certainly.
Thank you. Ms. Singer Luna?
Yes, that's it. Okay, I need to have a Post-it that says press the light. So that was a really great question. Thank you. I appreciate that. I use crosswalks all the time. I just started using the new crosswalk that's on Hadley in Washington that was just newly put in the last few months because I like walking everywhere, right? There's one in front of City Hall. There's, we talked about some off of Beverly, off of Greenleaf. And so I think it would have to require a study, right? And studies cost more money. And truly thinking about it from an efficient and like money saving perspective, I think that it would not. We have not had any accidents up to date currently for all of them. So what I would state is that I would not replace with stoplights, because that would require another study, and we are already in a financial deficit crisis. I don't think that we should be spending more dollars. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cano?
Well, this is an excellent question, because I happen to be an engineer, and I can tell you that those crosswalk lights don't work. They break down very quickly. You get about 1.5 to 2 year lifespan, and I have worked with commercial lighting. But living off of Beverly by Norwalk, I've walked crossing the street on Beverly Boulevard and Palm, down on Hadley, and seeing how many accidents have occurred. I've actually seen people get hit. There's a lot of kids. It's a high-density area with elementary school kids and junior high kids and high school kids. We should be replacing them with stop signs, like the community has mentioned on many occasions, especially in that area. We should also be using stoplights. Right where I live, I've seen so many cars flip over by the Baskin-Robbins crash, people getting hit. I mean, this is a dangerous area, and the community has already pushed forth, and there have been studies that the city has reported on email to us letting us know, you know what, it's not, we're not able to do it for one reason or another, but bottom line, they should be replaced.
Thank you. Mr. Savage?
Simple solution, everyone. We need a larger police department. I'm not into leaving the safety of the community up to inanimate objects. We have a police department. Actually, we're in a good position because in 2017, 500 graduates graduated from the Whittier Police Academy. They all applied for the Whittier PD. However, all 500 were turned down. So we need more police. Let's not leave our safety up to, again, inanimate objects. And the money is there for us to hire police. And we're in the position to hire policemen that are actually from this community. These people were born and raised here. What better position to be in than to have policemen that were actually born in the community that they were protecting? So that's my solution. We need more police. Slow the speed limit down. Enforce the traffic laws. We don't have enough police to do that.
Thank you. We're nearing the end of our time for this round for the mayoral candidates. So we're going to start with the closing remarks. Each candidate gets 1 minute to do his or her closing remarks. And we'll begin in the opposite order from the way we started, which means Mr. Savage is first. It's your turn.
When I joined the military, I took an oath to uphold the Constitution and defend the people who are under the laws of that Constitution, foreign and domestic. For those veterans who know that oath and read the fine print, That's a lifetime oath. Yeah, it don't stop once you leave the military. And my oath is to protect this community from those domestic, enemies that would choose to harm us with projects like Agenda 2030 and Sanctuary City. I plan to make a larger and stronger police force. The homeless situation, we have enough people here to petition the state to reopen up these state institutions that they've shut down. Get these people off the street. The people at Parnell Park have been offering these people help. They've turned it down. Not only have they turned it down, they've gotten belligerent and aggressive with these people. Now the whole park at Parnell is closed down. The community has no park to go to. So I'm here to change that.
Thank you. Mr. Cano?
All right, so my name is Rolando Cano. You can find me on Facebook. You can find podcasts of me out there by What's Up Whittier. Thanks, Christine. But more importantly, you know what? I'm here and I'm running. This is my second time. In the beginning, 2 years ago, I did push and try to bring attention to the increasing crime and the homeless situation. 2 years later, it's tripled. And we do have situations where there's encampments in our parks. There's decisions being made where we just kick them out and they end up in our backyards. But I do have a solution, and it's more extensive on my Facebook page or next door. I've talked about it for the last 2 years, which is becoming Boise compliant. The ability to enforce our laws and our ordinances, to be able to clear out our parks, to be able to remain safe, but more importantly, to clear a path for those that need help. There are those that need help. And when we hear that there's no families that are homeless, I work with a few. I'm a special needs advocate. I do a lot of support out there, and they are out there.
Thank you. Ms. Singer Luna?
Yes, thank you again to the League of Women Voters, the American Association of University Women, city staff, and you all for being here tonight. I hope I earned your vote and confidence that I will work for you in our city to do what's best for Whittier. My platform stands on the pillars of economy, environment, and education. Because to have a strong Whittier, we must have a strong system in place to support us for the future. Our campaign is different. We have the chutzpah, the agallas, the audacity to work smarter and more efficient towards a brighter vision for Whittier's tomorrow. If you haven't already, please follow us on social media, Christine for Whittier, and visit christineforwhittier.com to sign up to volunteer, clean your yard sign, and donate to this grassroots campaign. Vote for Christine Singer Luna for Whittier Mayor, February 29th through March 3rd. I am here to do the best for Whittier. Put me to work as your next mayor. I am ready, and I'm ready to learn. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vinatieri?
Once again, thank you for the opportunity to present this evening. Like I said, I'm positive. We have some great stuff going on. I was looking back at it and thinking, 2001, remember the library? The people voted down the tax for the library. What do we have going today? We got the library going. It's taken a long time. That's part of the deal in government. Part of the thing of government, it just takes time, and you got to work it and work it and work it and work it. Same issue with the Groves. That was 2003. It's happening right now. Uptown Specific Plan, 2008. Here we are in 2020, and yet we're finally getting the parking facility. Here we are again on the Gold Line. We've been working that since 2008. You just don't give up. You keep working and working it, because if it's right, it's going to happen. So I just appreciate everyone's support, because we are making it happen. We're going to deal with the homeless, and we are dealing with the homeless situation. And I encourage all of you, please support us. Go to Joe V for Whittier. That's the number 4whittier.com. Thank you for your vote.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Reyes?
Well, first, thank you for having us. One of the things that is true for all of us is we care deeply for Whittier, and we might have different views of it, but at the end, we're all neighbors, and we just live here, and this is our home. I'm running for Whittier mayor because I want to make a difference. I worked in government. I know a lot of the projects. 2003, I worked for the Assembly, dealt with Nellis Project, watched the lawsuits, was on the WV committee. We lost that. Was hoping to have a great library. We have a homeless issue now. We need beds. We need to get people off the streets. We need to help people. That's something that's such a priority that we need to do. I'm against oil. No oil in the hills. We need to do some green work. this is something that's important. We need to increase our public safety. That's pretty much, we all in agreement. We need more police. That's why I support Measure W. If we did 2/3, it's a 2/3 vote if we had to expand it. That's the reason why it's an open one. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you to all the candidates and to those who have attended our forum here this evening. And we also thank the city and the members of the League of Women Voters and AAUW that are here tonight. So we will take a break and come back for the city council candidates in a few minutes. Thank you very much. Oh, thank you.
You kept getting all those hints.
Yeah. And we can.
Friends, my name is Magdalena Barañón Mo, and I am running for city council because I live in a city of a diverse population. And I strongly believe in equal and fair representation on our city council. District 1 is 85% Spanish surname. And I believe that I am the best qualified candidate to represent my district because I am able to communicate in Spanish and in English, and I understand the needs of my community. I have been pleading with the city of Whittier for lighting in our district. On Friday, I had an officer knock on my door, and he said, "Did you hear the gunshots?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "How many?" And I said, 4. And he agreed that we live in a community that is unsafe, and we do not have good lighting. I believe that lighting is a public issue in the entire district, District 1. We need good lighting, we need sidewalks, and our streets need to be repaired. I am an advocate for seniors, with people with disability and special needs, and the Spanish-speaking community. The Whittier Daily News has said that I am an advocate for the entire city of, that I have been a lifetime advocate for the entire city of Whittier. I will continue to be an advocate for my community. I love the city of Whittier. I have lived in the city of Whittier my entire life. Thank you. Once again, my name is Maggie Mo.
Thank you. The next candidate is Ms. Martinez. Oh, she wants to do it in Spanish? Okay. I'm sorry. Ms. Mo requested an opportunity to do her presentation in Spanish as well. So we'll allow her 2 minutes to do that. We'll start there. Okay.
Buenas noches. Yo estoy corriendo para el concejal de Whittier porque para mí es muy importante tener representación en mi ciudad. Por la primera vez podemos votar en distritos y esto es muy importante porque podemos tener una representante de la comunidad. El distrito de número 1 es 85% apellidos de la comunidad latina y yo pienso que yo puedo representar mi comunidad porque yo me puedo entender con la comunidad. Hablo inglés y español y entiendo las necesidades de mi comunidad. Por muchos años, el pueblo grita que no tenemos luces en la comunidad. Las calles no se arreglan y la gente se enoja porque pagan impuestos en la ciudad. Yo pienso, yo voy a ser la voz y la representante de mi comunidad. Con mucha honradez y amor para mi comunidad, yo represento toda la comunidad de la ciudad de Whittier con mucho orgullo. Muchas gracias.
The next candidate is Ms. Martinez.
Good evening, everyone. Oh, I keep
Oh,
forgetting.
yes.
Oh my gosh, I did this
You
the
have to
last time too.
Turn the button.
There we go.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jessica Martinez, and I am a candidate for District 1. Now, why am I running for City Council? The reason I believe is obvious. There are a lot of changes going on in our state, and some of them have come to bear here in the city of Whittier. We've seen a vast uptick in homelessness. We've seen a huge uptick in crimes in our neighborhood. We see homeless people riding their bicycles through our neighborhoods, looking for packages to take. I've heard from very many of our people in our community that talk about theft. Our retailers are suffering because people go in and they steal whatever it is that they want to steal, as long as it's not $950 and they can walk out. Well, because of those issues that we have in our city, I believe it's very, very important to start looking at things a little bit differently. And for that reason, I'm running. The Whittier Daily News asked me what would I label myself? Was I a liberal? Was I conservative? And I said, I believe that those labels have lost their meaning to the vast, I think they just lost their meaning. So I said I'm a preservationist because I want to preserve what is good about Whittier, our culture that we have, our local culture, the traditions that we have in this city, just the beauty and the neighborliness that we've had in Whittier. My desire is not to divide according to political theology, but to bring together and include people of every nationality or ethnicity here in our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we move to the candidates for District 3. Mr. Moisa.
Yes, good evening. Thank you, Beverly, and thank you, League of Women Voters, for hosting tonight's forum. I'm Alex Moisa. I'm running for Whittier City Council District 3. But if you're here in the audience or watching from TV land, you know that already. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Montebello. My father worked at Bethlehem Steel in Vernon, and my mother worked retail. After graduating from high school, I attended community college at East Los Angeles Community College and transferred to UCLA, where I worked part-time to pay for my schooling. I later attended law school at UC Berkeley, where I met my wife, Irma. Irma and I moved to Whittier after graduating from law school, and we have lived in Whittier for over 25 years. We are now parents of 3 beautiful children, all of whom attend our local public schools. Irma and I decided to make Whittier our home, as it was close to my parents and my sisters, who had moved to Whittier a decade earlier. But also we were drawn to the city's historic character, its great homes on both sides of the boulevard, and its quality schools. Now, my parents instilled in me the values of hard work, commitment, and contributing to your community. I have over 2 decades of service to our city, having served on city commissions and on boards of several nonprofit organizations. My wife and I have always been supporters of many local civic and youth organizations. About 20 years ago, I opened my own law practice in Uptown Whittier. I'm running for Whittier City Council because my family and I are invested in Whittier's future. We want Whittier to be a better place to live, work, and play. And we know it can be better. It's time to provide new leadership as we enter this new decade. If elected to Whittier City Council, I will work hard to keep all Whittier parks open and accessible to its residents. Create an economic vision that keeps Whittier dollars in Whittier, not just dollar stores on Whittier Boulevard. Support our small businesses so that they can thrive and prosper, and work on partnering with local cities and community leaders to create regional options to homeless and housing issues plaguing our city. A strong city government makes for a strong community. Thank you.
Ms. Warner.
Thank you. I'm running for re-election to the Whittier City Council so that I might continue to make decisions that are in the best interest of the greater good of our entire community. My experience as a local elected official, as well as my experience as an owner of 2 small businesses in Whittier for many, many years, has provided me with a skill set to successfully continue as a member of the Whittier City Council. I'm committed to continuing to end homelessness, which is one of the most serious issues the city of Whittier has faced in decades. Despite the fact that enforcement of our ordinances has been weakened by changes in state laws, we must remain diligent as we continue to pursue a solution to this health and safety crisis. Treatment must be provided for the drug addicted and mentally ill. Although major crimes are down, the council must provide additional police officers and resources to support our police department so they may continue to fight crime, gang violence, and deal with homelessness, which in turn provides support for our local businesses and residents. I remain committed to maintaining local control of our sales tax dollars for the betterment of Whittier. Other issues that we are now dealing with would be the pension liability, the unfunded liability, which continues to increase as a result of CalPERS investment policies. Also addressing our RHNA numbers. That's an acronym that stands for our Regional Housing Needs Numbers, and that's a number that the state gives us. We have been instructed that we need to build an additional 3,400 housing units within the next 10 years. So the City Council is charged with fulfilling that mandate, and those are a few of the issues that we still need to address. Thank you.
Good evening, folks. My name is Yasmin Farada, and I'm running for Whittier City Council District 3. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for putting on this forum, as well as the Whittier City staff for helping put this together. I was born and raised in the city of Whittier. I've lived here my entire life. I am grateful to come from a family that has instilled the importance of public service and giving back to my community. I've attended all the local schools, including Murphy Ranch Elementary, Granada Middle School, and Lucerna High School, where I graduated and went on to Cal State Long Beach, where I received my degrees in sociology and Chicano studies. Those 2 degrees allowed me to see our community and our societal issues through a very critical lens. That took me into my career in student affairs and higher education, successfully transitioning high school students into college. Working there in the past 8 years has really allowed me to see the importance of proactive approaches to really important issues, and I think I can bring that to our city. For long, I've seen reactionary approaches to issues that have long plagued our city that cost our taxpayers more money and that are often incited by violence and putting our communities against each other. I'm running to ensure that we finally have a comprehensive resolution to homelessness, that we support our local businesses so that Whittier community members can thrive economically, that we include community members into this process, which is why I've been the only candidate that's been door knocking since August. And lastly, to ensure that we're making environmentally sound choices to ensure a future for our community members that's safe and sustainable. Thank you.
We now have a question from the board, and Barbara Guile will address that.
From your analysis of the majority of homeless in the Whittier area, please provide a brief profile of what the person looks like, such as employability, finances, family support, mental stability, etc. How can the city best serve the person who fits your profile?
We will start with Mr. Robley.
Thank you for that. I have to say I actually do not feel comfortable to describe the person experiencing homelessness. What does homelessness look like? I don't think any of us, I think all of us might have a different opinion of what homelessness looks like. But from my point of view, I do see individuals that are struggling with drug addiction, alcohol. I do see that they're in need of a job. And everyone's employable. Everyone can get a job. I've offered jobs. I've walked that Greenbelt. I've walked Parnell Park. I've offered jobs. A job that pays over $100,000 a year. I have offered these jobs to them. I have offered services to them. But these individuals need resources, mental health. There's domestic violence victims. I've seen the census that just came out. I don't agree with those numbers. I've been out there one-on-one talking to every individual out there since the Greenbelt. So we need to get out there, and we really need to focus on these services that we need to start providing for these individuals. Again, I do not feel comfortable to describe the person the way they dress or the way they talk. I'm sorry, but I cannot give you that answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Moe?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. Barbara, will you repeat the question?
Yes, if I can find it. Here it is. There it is. From your analysis of the majority of the homeless in Whittier, please provide a brief profile of what the person looks like, such as their employability, finances, family support, mental stability, etc. How can the city best serve the person who fits your profile?
Well, that depends on the person that we see. There are people that have mental illness. There are people that have drug addictions. There are people that have no family support. It could be many different reasons. I have a wonderful friend who had no family support. He came from Texas, and he came to the city of La Mirada, and he met a wonderful man who was a Christian, and he put him into a transitional home, and now he was counseled, and he was taught how to be independent, and if you saw him today, you would never know it. He has earned a degree. He earned his bachelor's and a degree in political science, and he is the most wonderful, articulate young man that you could ever meet. So I believe that for every person, we can have a success story, and that's what our community should be doing. We are Whittier, we're a great community, and we should be able to help as many people as we can, or the ones that want help. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez?
First of all, I forgot to thank the League of Women Voters for putting this forum on, and also the Whittier branch of the American Association of University Women. Thank you so much. Well, I can give you a description of the homeless bunch that hangs out across the street from where I live, and that come pretty much every evening, and they hang out. That person or persons are drug addicted. They're loud. They steal things from my front porch, and they're service resistant. The police come by about maybe every other night after someone calls the police, and they're loud. They bring a lot of traffic in there, and so there's a lot that goes on just by their presence. The rest of the homeless, I couldn't tell you. They're quite. There are a lot of different varieties. You have those who have suffered maybe a momentary lapse of a job, or they can't pay their rent. And I believe that we have programs. We also have the mentally unstable, and basically the drug addicted, the service resistant. So we have a lot of different types of homeless that are out there, and they need different types of treatment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Moisa?
Yes, I'll try to tackle that question. What does the face of homelessness look like? I think there was a survey recently, and they said the homeless in Whittier was a middle-aged Latino man. So homelessness looks like me. I'm the face of homelessness. At the same time, I have a friend who is a phenom guitar player, a savant guitar player, but only knows how to do that. He's also homeless. I have a friend who just could not stop doing meth after college, and he's still homeless. So homeless is the face of very many different people, but at the same time, it's the face of people who are struggling to survive and struggling to make it. As a board member for the Whole Child, we see families that want to make it, children and mothers, fathers who want to make a difference and want to get out of the cycle of poverty, drug addiction, or need for mental health. Ultimately, we're going to need to provide services for people who want and desire those, but at the same time, if you look at homelessness, It's the face of us all around. It's the face of people living in their cars. It's the face of people living in motels on Whittier Boulevard. And so when we really acknowledge that that face is partly ours too, the same face, a reflection in the mirror, then maybe we'll have a better opportunity at dealing with it and grappling with it. Thank you.
Very good. So at a recent city council meeting, it took a professional service provider, social services provider, over 45 minutes to present his interpretation of the report that the city had requested from CityNet, the nonprofit organization. Took him 45 minutes to present that report as to what the face of homelessness looks like. And I would suggest that each of us reread that report, listen to that council meeting to really understand in detail what the homeless looks like. In regards to what we need to do, at that same council meeting, our last council meeting, the council voted unanimously to extend an RFP, a request for proposals to nonprofit organizations. We are looking for a provider that would operate a navigation center, which would also include wraparound services that would be utilized for each individual person that was in that navigation center after those characteristics would be determined and diagnosed for each of the individuals. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Parada?
Thank you. So I know the first part of the question is asking what the profile of a homeless person would look like. And, you know, while I appreciate the question, I think profiling is oftentimes a bit reductive. Our community members experiencing homelessness are the truth is they're not a monolith, right? So what I do know from speaking to our homeless brothers and sisters living in Parnell Park, they are Whittier community members. Many of them are veterans, mothers. They're coming from lower socioeconomic statuses where they had one bill that went past due and they ended up kicked out of their apartment. They're also young men. They're not families. So as we heard earlier, they're left out of the conversation when it comes to services the city of Whittier provides. I think we need to have a central entry system to ensure that we're tracking the services that we provide to each individual as a city. I think we need to ensure that we're working collaboratively with all the nonprofits that already exist to ensure that we're not repeating the same services and that there's one central location that people can come and receive this help. I think if there's drug addiction issues, we need counselors, we need social workers to help assist our Whittier Police Department. And I think we also need to acknowledge that in a poll that was done by our own city, 70% of local business owners agreed to employ homeless individuals. I think as a city, we should have been acting as a liaison to ensure that that happened. Thank you.
We will start again with Mr. Roble. What are your top 3 priorities for small business owners in Whittier if you are elected?
Thank you for that question. Actually, myself, me being my small business owner here in Whittier, I faced a couple challenges, and that was the permitting is one. So I've been talking to small business owners here in Whittier, and I'd like to change the fact that the fees for signage can possibly be waived. I had a barbershop down the street tell me that the permitting process to put their own sign to promote their business is giving them a headache, and that everything has to be, the specs have to be verified through building and code enforcement. I think these barriers for our small businesses is definitely something we need to work on, number one, because if we can't support our small businesses and we bring barriers to put in front of them, how do we expect them to thrive in our community? How do we expect that revenue to come from our community? You see all the small businesses that we're losing. We need to promote these small businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Moe?
Well, number one, we need to invest in our infrastructure. We need to invest in lighting. Lighting is good for safety and it's good for ambiance. We need to beautify our area to be able to attract people to come to areas to shop. We need to help the business owners make it easier not to have so many restrictions. We need to clean our streets. We need to clean our streets, and we need to to take care of our trees, the maintenance of our trees. Those are the kind of things that we need for the city of Whittier so that we can attract people to come to the city of Whittier and shop. Safety. Our city needs to feel safe. Anybody who goes shopping, it is important to feel safe and to be able to be with their children and to be in a safe environment. So those are the kind of things. And I think also it's very important for us as city leaders to be able to have close contact with the business owners. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez?
Yes, I think it would be a great thing if we could,
Oops.
sorry. I think it would be a great thing if we could increase parking somehow in Uptown Whittier. My associate and I drove around for about half an hour without being able to get any parking, and we finally gave up and we went somewhere else, which is awful. But in any case, so I'd like to see parking increased. I'd also like to see somehow the streets of Uptown especially to be cleaned and I mean the stains removed from the sidewalk. It reminds me of downtown Los Angeles sometimes walking in Uptown, and it's not attractive. And I think I would also like to see some of the fees also reduced for especially new business owners. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moisa?
Yes, I think you're going to need a variety of different things to promote business in Whittier. You're going to have to streamline the permit process in Whittier. Too many business owners I've spoken to have talked and spoken about how difficult it is to start a business in Whittier, how many barriers they thought they were receiving from both City Hall itself, but also from those who were supposedly trying to help them create their business and work with their plans. We need to create better incentives to promote and start businesses in the city. We need to create a better infrastructure so that when we have those businesses, they have the ability to stay and to thrive. I think we also need to follow our Uptown and Whittier Boulevard specific plans, move away from the variances that have allowed the hodgepodge collections of stores up and down Whittier Boulevard along with Greenleaf. And ultimately, I think that we have to be more creative and inventive when we partner with private entities as to bringing the businesses we want into the city and providing the incentives so that they'll stay. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Warner?
Excited that we have net numbers of 400 new businesses in the last 4 years, and we have a net number of 94 new businesses during the last 6 months of 2019. And to me, that shows that our strategies are working. 3 priorities would be to make sure that we facilitate the appropriate infrastructure. An example would be the fact that the city is going to be upgrading several intersections on Whittier Boulevard, Colima, Norwalk, Washington, which will provide additional infrastructure for businesses. We have a red team in the Community Development Department that helps to facilitate permit processes. When a new business owner comes in, they can make an appointment and they can sit down with several of the different agencies that they have to get permits from, and support, ongoing support from the Community Development Department and the Chamber of Commerce. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Ferrata?
Thank you. I think the first thing that we need to do to support local businesses is to cut the red tape. I have spoken to many local businesses, mom and pop shops in District 3 that share horror stories of how long they've had to wait for permits. We know that local businesses depend on ensuring that they can be open, unlike corporations that can afford to wait that long. We need to ensure that we streamline that process. We also need to make sure that when we welcome developments into our city, we ensure that we have ratio ordinances so that mom and pop shops are able to even stand a chance in competition to huge retailers that are welcomed into the city. And also, I think, overall, we need to stay environmentally competitive with other cities. If folks are willing to come in and shop in Uptown and they're driving a sustainable vehicle, they're going to keep going to Brea or Fullerton because there's no charging stations here. We have an opportunity to move Whittier in the right direction. We just need the political will.
Next question, we'll do it a little bit differently. We'll have the persons from District 1 answer in reverse order, and then the ones from District 3 answer in reverse order. This has to do with taxes. Please explain your support or opposition to Measure W, the 0.75% increase in the sales tax charged in Whittier. Are you concerned that it does not have a sunset provision? So we will begin with Ms. Martinez. Martinez? Yes. Yeah, we're doing District 1 first,
Oh,
and then
okay.
District 3.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Confusing.
Well, as far as taxes go, I hate taxes of any kind, and I would like to see them lowered instead of raised. However, this here, Measure W, I believe is what we're talking about here. Measure W is one of those things where if we don't take that 0.75 percentage of a tax, what will eventually happen is that our lovely Los Angeles County will take it because they never turn down an opportunity to say yes to another increase in any kind of tax. So, thank you. We should take it first before they do.
Ms. Moe?
I am not in support of Measure W. I don't like the fact that it doesn't have the sunset clause. It will have, this tax increase, if it was, I believe that if it was under 10.10, it would be okay, but anything over that is too much money. I think that it will affect the businesses, and it's going to affect our residents. The city at one time had a surplus of $10 million, and I would like to know what happened to all the money. Where did all the money go? I know that the city has spent $3 million in a lawsuit to fight voting in districts when all of the other cities volunteered to be able to vote in districts. So I believe that there has to be accountability, and I don't think that it's fair to tax the residents. Thank you.
Thank you for this question. It's actually, it's a very important question. And plain and simple, I do support this Measure W for a few reasons. Yes, like we all know, the county will take this money regardless. It's now or it's later. And providing the services that we need, it's not only for our police, it's not only for our library, it's not only for the small things. I noticed a fire truck down the other day. One of our rigs was down. This would help provide public safety to not only our police, but our fire. So I will be supporting Measure W, but again, it's important what the people vote for. This is your vote, and I really believe that if we come together, we're doing it for the right reasons. And again, if we don't take it, someone else will. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll have the candidates for District 3, starting with Ms. Ferrata.
Yes, so I do support Measure W. As we're all aware, the city is in a financial crisis. And as the city's in a financial crisis, because we were not making proactive decisions, the first alternative was drilling in our hills to ensure that we could balance our budget. Unfortunately, that was even put on the table, right? I think we need to ensure that we are planning ahead and that we are not going to continue to make reactionary decisions. I think Measure W right now will allow our city to stay afloat and to ensure that we're not cutting back on city staff or any services that the city currently provides.
Thank you. Ms. Warner?
The state has a law that your sales tax cannot be any greater than 10.50%. So obviously we have 0.75 that we can go to and utilize if the voters support that. And yes, I support Measure W. We have a structural deficit. However, the structural deficit that we have at this point in time would have been a lot worse had the council in the early 2000s not set aside money when CalPERS told us that they were superfunded and we didn't need to pay them. And it is true that if we don't pass the sales tax at this point in time, other local agencies such as AQMD, the county, or any other agency that might get their measure on the ballot first can place a measure on the ballot for the city of Whittier. And if that measure is then voted yes, that sales tax money that would have come here will go to that agency.
Thank you. Mr. Moisa?
Yes, thank you. Gosh, with 3 separate taxes on the ballot, it's unfortunate we have to consider another one for local residents and businesses. I'm already assessed a tax for being in the Uptown District. But unfortunately, I would reluctantly support Measure W if the proceeds are applied towards public safety and addressing our budget deficits created by our city's failure to better plan for escalating costs and slow revenues. The Measure W is a product of a city failing to plan for the future and now needing its residents to bail itself out. Prop W is projected to increase revenues by over $6 million. I would like those funds need to be to provide our hardworking city employees with competitive wages. We need to provide resources for public safety, and we need to invest in capital improvements because our failure to plan, unfortunately, is the reason why we need this tax. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we'll do this next one in the same order. Confusing, but we'll try it. Okay, this has to do with low-income housing. What ideas do you have to implement the building and conversion of housing to serve low and very low-income people and families? Will you work to pressure landlords to accept Section 8 vouchers? So we will start with Ms. Martinez.
Well, once again, I feel that personal freedom and the ownership of property is a very important right. And I think we've forgotten that in our desire to make things fair for everyone. Now, I understand that we have to look forward to a future of providing low-income housing for certain individuals, and I do believe that it is important to provide some low-income housing, but I think it's really quite unfair for many people who have saved and have invested in rental properties to have to be told that they can make so much money, or that someone else is going to tell them exactly how much money they can make from their own rentals. So I don't really like the state or the government telling individuals what they can and cannot do. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Moe?
There was a developer who came to the city of Whittier on the corner of 5 Points and Whittier Boulevard, and he was willing to give a few homes for low-income families. But the city of Whittier said, no, we don't do those type of things. I believe that every developer who wants to develop in the city of Whittier should offer some low-income housing. I believe that we have a lot of empty places a lot of empty areas or a lot of empty buildings in the city of Whittier, like over at Whittier College. And a lot of these homes are made into like little duplexes or little single family or residence is what they call them. They call them OCRs. And I believe that we should have more of those areas for families or for single people that need housing. But I believe that every city should have some fair housing for the families, because thank you.
Mr. Robley?
Thank you for this question. I'm a supporter of affordable housing, inclusionary housing, and some of my ideas are to work with Link Housing, who already has a relationship here in Whittier, and other developers who also have relationships here in Whittier. We have a $12.9 million HUD grant that's been unused here since 2012. We currently have the Mosaic Gardens on Philadelphia and Pickering was a $9 million project. With $12 million, we can definitely build something that will help the low-income families here in Whittier. I would like to see give incentives to the developers, such as fee reduction, fee waivers, design flexibility, and fast track processing to the front of the line when it comes to building affordable housing. Also, a density bonus is the most common that developers take when it comes to incentives. So I would like to see this happen as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Ferrata?
Thank you. I think it's important to acknowledge when looking at this issue is that it is mandated by the state that we offer a certain amount of affordable housing in our city. So I do think that we need to ensure that we are offering low-income housing. I think ADUs are a great alternative when we talk about congestion and building in our city. I think that should be an easier process. I think the city should, lower the amount of restrictions that we have on ADUs. And I think we also need to establish support with our landlords. There was a part of a poll that was done by the city of Whittier. There is an overwhelming support for folks to have affordable housing in the city. We were promised affordable housing in the development at the Groves. We see 750 units are planning on going up, and none of them are affordable housing. So I think it's important that if we're developing and we have an opportunity, that we need to make sure we're making the responsible choice for our community members.
Thank you. Ms. Warner?
Yes, so right now in the city of Whittier, we have 276 very low-income units at Whittier Towers, William Penn Manor, and the Hoover Hotel at the Seasons. We have 20 low-income units at Mosaic Gardens, and we also have 33 affordable units at both the Gables and at Guilford Court. And as far as facilitating low-income housing, the strategies would be to change zoning for those areas wherein the units would be placed, and also for the city to extend RFPs to developers and utilize city-owned property as the incentive for the developer to come and to create the low-income units. In regards to Section 8, I have taken it as a landlord, and I know the Chamber has a program with their Apartment Owners Association where they will work with landlords and encourage them to take Section 8 vouchers. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moisa?
Yes, the question was read a long time ago, so I'm not quite sure I remember it. Can you run it by me one more time?
What ideas do you have to implement the building and conversion of housing to serve low and very low-income people and families? Will you work to pressure landlords to accept Section 8 vouchers?
Okay, thank you. The city of Whittier does need low-income housing, and its lack of affordable housing over the years is really part of the reason that's caused this problem with even the homeless issue. We've backed ourselves in the corner by not having affordable housing, by not having housing for the homeless, and now we're forced to almost look at imposing a burden on the landowners and the property owners of the city of Whittier. I'm not so sure about the Section 8 or even the density issues or increasing density. In my canvassing in the neighborhood, one only has to really look at the neighbors and the houses and see that a good percentage are already housing multi-generational families. And some have other people living, friends or family in the back or in the garage or whatnot. So that already exists. And so I think we really have to look back to Sacramento to some degree and find out, Sacramento, you gave us a mandate. Where's the money? And if we have the money, then we can see what we're going to do with providing low-income housing. And as a board member for the whole child, I know it can be done affordably and looking beautiful. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Our next question has to do with finance. In the face of Whittier's financial crisis, besides more taxes, what creative solutions do you have to solve this crisis? We'll begin here with Mr. Reyes. Excuse me. The wrong group. Mr. Robley. That was the previous one.
Thank you for that question, Mr. Robley. I'll take. So I've been out also canvassing in District 1, and we do have a deficit crisis, and what we're being told is $3.1 million. Well, here's what I look at. What was the settlement that was just paid out to the police department? $3.1 million. So with that, I would like, again, back to what I said earlier, we need to continue to bring the attention here to Whittier. We have the Gold Line coming. That's going to bring people that work, live, and play to Whittier. That's going to help our revenue. That's going to help our businesses. But again, we have to help our businesses here in Whittier thrive. We need to promote and secure jobs here in Whittier. That way we can grow together as a community and the revenue stays here in the community. We wouldn't have to be raising taxes if this were happening. You know, promoting and securing the jobs is very, very important to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Moe?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
In the face of Whittier's financial crisis, besides more taxes, what creative solutions do you have to solve this crisis?
Well, number one, we need to finish the Uptown specific plan. We have spent so much money on consultants, and it's been 15 years, and we have not been able to finish the plan. If we finish the plan, that would bring revenue to our city. Our city businesses need help, and if we had beautification and our streets were clean and we had lighting, that would bring revenue to our city because people would come and spend money. We could save money by being innovative and taking care of our lighting problem. We do not need to have poles. We already have one light. If we just added another light and we had LED lighting, we could solve the problem. So we need to be innovative to solve the issues that we have in our community. Lighting is a public safety issue and it needs to be taken care of. We need to get it resolved. We should all live in a safe and clean environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez?
Yes, I think it's important to remember that we lost quite a few car dealerships some years ago that brought in quite a bit of sales tax into our city. So what I believe that we need to do is increase the level of high-cost or high-priced items back into the city of Whittier, bring industry back into Whittier. I know that there are some industrial places still in the city of Whittier, but they are fraught by regulations, and so they've thought about moving outside of Whittier as well. So that would be my suggestion.
Thank you. Mr. Moisa?
Yes, thank you. I think simply put, financial creativity comes with partnerships and vision. I think our city needs to be able to partner with both public entities and private entities to not only provide the services we may want for the city, but as to the private entities to bring the businesses that we want and keep them here. We need to provide incentives to bring the businesses that we say we want. It's really easy for us to go out there and canvass and tell people, yeah, I'm going to bring you another Houston's or I'm going to bring you Islands or whatnot. But easier said than done is getting the landowner to also participate and want that to happen too. I think Ms. Martinez made an interesting point about the car dealerships, but one only has to look a little bit further back and remember Whittier was once an economic powerhouse. We had a May Company, we had a Henshaw's, we had a Broadway. We had vision at one time how to make the city a booming economic and viable city, but somehow, after the 80s, after the earthquakes, we lost that, and we never had the ability to get that vision back again, and that's what I want to change. Thank you.
That's good. Ms. Warner?
As far as strategy, since I've been on the council, we have decreased the number of department heads from 12 to 7. We have blended departments. We seek grants continuously. The Greenway Trail has totally been paid for with grants as opposed to general funds. And we seek after P3 projects, which are projects that are public projects that are carried out with private partnership. We utilize green strategies, and if you look at our website, there's a whole long page list of green strategies that end up saving us money. Another strategy that the city has been successful in negotiating with our employees is having our employees pay actually the highest percentage of their share of PERS than any other entity in Southern California, and that's 12%. And I believe that with negotiations, that percent can be increased as well to help with our structural deficit.
Thank you. Ms. Ferrata?
Thank you. I think first and foremost, we need to ensure we're supporting small businesses. So we want to make sure that our tax dollars are staying in Whittier. We have to think creatively. Where do people go? What stores do they leave Whittier to go to, right? Everybody has an iPhone. We should bring an Apple store to Whittier to ensure that things like that are accessible and they're not leaving our city to go and seek those places. I think we should encourage green businesses to come into our city. I think we should partner with nonprofits to continue writing grants so that the money is not coming directly from our budget. But most importantly, I think we need to stop getting involved in fruitless lawsuits that are costing our taxpayers a lot of money. Thank you.
The next one has to do with traffic. Traffic congestion along Whittier Boulevard, Mar Vista, and Colima is horrible and is becoming worse, especially at certain times of the day. The backup on Mar Vista to turn onto Colima and the backup on Colima to proceed through the Mar Vista intersection or to turn onto Mar Vista have become huge bottlenecks, with numerous light changes having to be made to proceed. What ideas do you have for alleviating these situations? An upcoming situation will also be the bottleneck created at Whittier Boulevard and Philadelphia with the completion of the Groves. What is being planned to head off a problem there? We will begin with Mr. Robley.
Thank you for that. So, as far as the light coming down Colima to Mar Vista, I'm not a fan of. To stop and wait, what signal's next? How long am I going to be here? Traffic is backing up. There's many accidents in that intersection. There's been a lot of deaths in that intersection. I would like to get a study going because I don't have all the answers, and I believe getting a study done not only with this area, but other areas of the city like Philadelphia and Whittier Boulevard, there is going to be a lot of increase. But I know the developer has already built a certain, I wouldn't know the proper words to call it, but a small lane that kind of alleviates that traffic on Whittier Boulevard in Philadelphia. So yes, I know Waze and other maps has taken us down residential. That's another issue. Maybe we can work with Maps and Google and see if we can come out to an ideas.
Thank you. Ms. Moe?
Well, one of the problems that we have is that people drive way too fast. We need to slow down the traffic. When you come from, one of the biggest problems, another problem that we have is that the Hacienda Boulevard has been closed. And so a lot of people are coming from La Habra Heights and they're coming over Colima. That's another problem. Also, when you make a right on Mar Vista at nighttime, it is so dark, and we need more lighting there too. Because I don't know if you guys are afraid, but I'm afraid when I make a right-hand turn in that curve down in Mar Vista, and I've lived in the city of Whittier my entire life. On Philadelphia and Greenleaf, I'm sorry, he said Whittier and Philadelphia. We're going to have a lot more traffic when the Groves comes into effect. So I think that we should encourage people to maybe do a ride share, or if we had public transportation, that would solve a lot of problems. But we don't have very much public transportation. It's almost impossible to get from one end of the city to the other. Hopefully, when we have the gold line, that is going to help with all the traffic that we are going to have. Thank you.
Ms. Martinez?
I think I would like to see the timing of the lights reconsidered. What I've noticed lately is that the lights are taking forever to change. The other thing is I would like to see an increase in traffic lanes rather than a reduction for other purposes. I don't understand why they keep reducing the lanes when we need more to get to wherever it is that we're going. Also, I find it I know people love to ride their bikes, but I also find that many times the bikes, they impede traffic. They're swerving into traffic, and that hinders the flow of traffic as well. And I know Hacienda Heights doesn't want me letting this out, but I believe Hacienda has been reopened.
So. Mr. Moise?
Oh, okay, thank you. Ultimately, the issue of of the traffic congestion is a big problem. When I've been canvassing, talk to people on Russell and Janine, Catalina, and even La Bajada, and all of them will talk to you about their streets becoming fast thoroughfares for people trying to get off Mar Vista and Whittier Boulevard. Ultimately, there's going to be a combination of things that may have to work together to help alleviate the problem to some degree. One might be the goal line itself, and its completion may reduce traffic on Whittier Boulevard. I think we have to work with Caltrans regarding synchronization of our signals. I think that could improve the issue because everybody's told me how terrible what Whittier Boulevard is between 2:30 and 7 o'clock in the evening to get through, say, Mills to Beach. Ultimately, I think we'll have to work at traffic control and with Caltrans to provide alternatives to our fossil fuels cars, and maybe look at alternative energy cars and also look at other sources of transportation. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Warner?
Hacienda Boulevard is open. The problem, a lot of the problem with the traffic is the apps, as we've discussed before, and as long as we have apps on our phones to show us where to go when the freeways are congested, we're going to continue to have the problems. When a developer comes to Whittier and does a project, they have to submit a traffic study. So the apartments at Whittier Boulevard and Catalina had to submit a study. The Groves had to submit a study. The results of the Groves are leading to sections of Whittier Boulevard being widened and additional signalization in that area. Also, Sorensen's being widened. Signals have now been coordinated on Lambert to expedite the flow of traffic there. And as I mentioned earlier, we are partnering with Caltrans, and there's 4 to 5 intersections on Whittier Boulevard that are going to be worked on. The one at Whittier Boulevard and Colima is going to end up with 2 right turn lanes. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Ferrata?
Thank you. I think the first thing, obviously, would be having strong support for the expedited process of building the Gold Line here, and to ensure that we have sustainable environmentally buses that are easily accessible in our city of Whittier. I also think that, moving with the times, a lot of folks use Uber and Lyft. We should have rideshare stops so that it's easy to stop at Uptown and have a place for folks to get picked up by an Uber and a Lyft, so not everyone has to drive. But also, I think, is making streets on Whittier Boulevard bike-friendly and pedestrian-friendly, so people don't always have to use a car when they're trying to navigate the city or go shopping.
That's good. Thank you. The next question will reverse the order of speaking. So we'll start with Ms. Ferrata this time. Where do you stand on loosening restrictions on accessory dwelling units or granny flats to make Whittier compliant with state laws and avoid future lawsuits?
Thank you. Well, obviously, like what I said earlier in terms of affordable housing, I think ADUs are crucial in making sure that we can become compliant with what the state is mandating of us. I think the city of Whittier should provide incentives, so not only lower the amount of restrictions, but actually provide incentives for folks that are trying to do this. When we look at our homelessness crisis, we know that also stems from a lack of affordable housing. So the quicker that we are supportive of something like ADUs, we'll be able to start seeing a decrease in our societal issues like homelessness and the lack of affordable housing.
Ms. Warner?
In regards to ADUs, the council is obligated to follow state law, and we are in the process of having our ordinances changed to reflect the changes in state law that came into being as of January 1. One of those changes is that the city can no longer require that parking be replaced when ADUs are created. So as an example, in the past, the city would require parking be replaced for the owner of a property and for the new tenants of an ADU. That no longer can occur. We will go along with that state law, and that will now be an ordinance. I do have concerns about the traffic because we can now see up to 3 ADUs placed on one piece of property. If you have a generational family living in the main house, you could have up to 10 cars that are now going to be parking on the street. So we could be looking at other issues, but we must follow state law in regards to the ADUs.
Thank you. Mr. Moisa?
Yes, well, I think the city is now trying to follow state law regarding ADUs. I believe a few years ago, maybe 5 or 10 years ago, they opposed actions or incentives to try to create more ADUs in the city, or sometimes I call granny flats. But ultimately, I'm not quite sure if it's going to solve our problem or even do a little bit of a remedy. Like I mentioned, walking the homes, I see a lot of houses that are already pretty filled up. They already have 4 or 5 cars parked in the driveway. And that is pretty common all over Whittier as just we have more and more people. I think if we look to ADUs, it may help us a little bit, but ultimately it's not going to solve our larger issue of meeting our state mandate. And ultimately that state mandate is just a little bit crazy. I mean, we're going to do what we can, but we're not going to build 34, 35 new houses in the city of Whittier. And so that's unrealistic. So we have to make sure that Sacramento knows that they have unrealistic expectations for us, and that we'll do what we can with our resources. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez?
Yes. Actually, I have to say that I agree with the gentleman next to me and as well as Kathy Warner. I think it's unrealistic to continue to put a burden on the citizens of Whittier and expect them to perform to the state mandate that is neither comfortable for its residents or is it even, it doesn't make sense. So unfortunately, I have to agree with Kathy Warner, and we have to follow these crazy state mandates. And unfortunately, until we get maybe some new people in the assembly, things will have to go along as they are. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Moe?
I think we can be creative, and we could put affordable housing in areas like the Quad. There is lots of room at the Quad. At the Whitwood Center, we have a lot of housing over there, and we can make it like Marvin's Gardens, where it is professionally managed, and we could have affordable housing there. I do not propose to have more granny flats in my neighborhood. We have no room. We live in Whittier has little tiny streets, and there's not enough room. My neighbor across the street has 6 cars, and certainly that would not work in my neighborhood or in where I live on my street. But we could do it at the Quad where there's lots of parking, or in other areas where we have rooms. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Robley?
Thank you for that question. So this goes back to what I said earlier about the inclusionary housing and the incentives for the developers, but also the homeowners. I have been talking to a lot of homeowners, and I do agree with Maggie on this. There's not enough room in a lot of these areas. There's small properties, multiple vehicles, a garage. I don't see that it would work in every location of the city or yet District 1. But again, go back to making it easier for these granny flats to do the fee reduction, fee waivers, but also we can't rent these ADUs for market rate. Otherwise, it defeats the purpose of all this. Also, we need to ask, how will this impact our property taxes? That's the huge question, and if we get any incentives on that. So that would be my proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question has to do with homelessness. It says, homelessness is clearly a priority for Whittier. What, in your opinion, is where it rates in prioritization for council emphasis? So, how serious do you consider homelessness with other things going on in the city? We'll begin here with Mr. Robley.
Thank you for that. So I consider this on the level highest priority. As a community, we've seen the issues that are going on. I won't even get into it, but Again, we need to provide services. We need beds. Where are these individuals supposed to be going? We need them off the streets. And it's not only about housing, it's about drug addiction, it's about the alcohol, the programs that we need to provide for them, the mental health, again, domestic violence victims, veterans. We need to provide these resources as they need them. You know, the job training, we need to bring that back because a lot of us seem to forget that any one of us can end up homeless at any time. I myself have experienced that in 2012. So I know both sides of the story. I hear people telling me get off the streets, but I had a job. Unfortunately, I became homeless due to I couldn't afford my rent. But I didn't become a victim. I moved forward. I didn't have the help back then, but we do have the resources and we need to provide them.
Thank you. Ms. Moe?
It's a serious problem when we have so many people that are upset. You know, the residences at Parnell Park, they're upset. They're upset because parks are meant for children and for families to be at. We must comply with the Boise law, and we must be able to provide resources. We need resources for drug addiction, mental health, veterans, the LGBT community, and we need to be able to provide job training. That is very important to be able to get people back on their feet. Homelessness is a very serious problem because it affects the entire city. It affects businesses. So we must be able to do something to help the homeless community. I know that a lot of people, it's not a popular subject, but something needs to be done because it's only going to continue to get worse. They are now living in the Greenway Trail. What is next? Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez?
Yes, I think the main problem with the homelessness here, and I believe it's basically one of our number one priorities, is that we have that part of the homeless population that is, whose phone is that? I hope it's not mine. Service resistant. That is the segment of the homeless population that needs to be addressed. Those people who want to be out on the streets. That we need to basically take care of by enforcing our vagrancy laws and by making sure that those people who are publicly intoxicated go to jail. I'm sorry, but they're causing problems in our streets, and that is the population that needs to be addressed. That is the population that is causing problems in Whittier. As far as providing services, I believe that there are many humane things that we can do to address the other population that actually wants and needs help and is willing to accept it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moisa?
Yes, well, ultimately, the homeless issue is the biggest issue right now in the city. When I had decided to run for city council, I wanted to address economic issues, our lack of vitality on Whittier Boulevard, and our continuing budget deficits. But the homeless issue just came riding hard. And it's partly, or possibly fully, because our city council didn't deal with it right in the first place. If our council had dealt with the Boise issues back in October of 2018, we would not have had the issue at Parnell Park that continued on to this day and is still unresolved. So the homeless issue is by far the biggest issue, and until we get that out of the way, our city is not going to be able to focus on other important issues such as its own economic development and where it sees itself, let's say, the next 25, 40, 50 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Warner?
So yes, as I mentioned earlier, homelessness is one of our greatest challenges that we have faced in quite some time. So what's the city doing about it? We've been approaching this multifaceted. We are in negotiations with Orange County Judge Carter to enter the Catholic workers case. He is determining that we will possibly be able to fulfill Martin v. Boise with 60% of the number of beds that we need, which would be 151. As I mentioned earlier, we've set out an RFP for a navigation center for a nonprofit to run that center and to provide wraparound services for the homeless. We have $10 million in low-income funds for housing that we can utilize for these purposes. We've enforced our anti-camping ordinance at two of our parks, Parnell and Leffingwell. We cannot enforce it at all of our parks until we are compliant with Martin v. Boise. We have encumbered financially 11 beds at First Day. When the other 34 beds become available, to be continued.
Ms. Farada?
Oops. Sorry about that. So definitely, I think homelessness is the greatest priority and the most important issue to the folks that I've spoken to at the doors, and my biggest priority as someone who decided to run for city council. The reason why I decided to run was because I felt like homelessness was not a priority on our city council. And we know that it affects our public health. It affects public safety. It's an environmental issue. It affects our businesses. So however we stand on the line in regards to homelessness, the reality is that it's affecting our entire city. And our current city leadership has failed to respond to it in a responsible and comprehensive way. Instead, we've decided to go into litigation, which costs more money for our taxpayers to pay a lawyer to develop a consent decree, which will essentially mean that we still do not have to do what Boise asked us to do, which is have enough beds for our community members.
Thank you. We reached the point in our discussions here this evening where it's time for the candidates to make their closing statements. And we will go in the reverse order from the way we started. So Ms. Farada will be first. 1 minute each.
Thank you so much, everybody, for being here tonight and for actively civically participating in your community. I'm born and raised in Whittier, like I said. I'm running not simply to replace our current city's leadership and not simply to encourage our city's leadership to actively participate in their community, but to move our Whittier forward, because I believe that Whittier belongs to all of us. I believe that we deserve a leader who's willing to get out there and not just rule from the dais, but knock on doors and talk to everyday community members that otherwise have been left out of this process. I believe that our local businesses deserve that. I believe that our families deserve that. And I believe that folks who have invested in Whittier and are choosing to call this place home for the rest of their lives also deserve that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Warner.
In addition to desire, experience, and knowledge, what other attribute do I need to be able to serve you as a city council member? That would be passion. And where do I get my passion? I get my passion from you. I get my passion from talking to you. And a quick story that I want to share with you. Saturday, I was out talking to neighbors, putting up signs. I was on Scott Avenue, and there was a lady that was sweeping car accident debris out of the street. And I stopped and I talked with her. And she introduced herself. Her name was Cindy Kane. And I said, Kane, do you know Pat Kane? Yes, he's my brother. I said, oh my gosh, his daughter Erica played soccer with my girls at Lucerna. And the conversation just went on from there, 45 minutes. And that fuels my passion, just like so many of you, that I love to serve and I love serving this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moise?
Yes, thank you. And again, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting tonight's forum. I feel the important issues facing our city today and in the years ahead are securing our city's fiscal stability, reducing homelessness and the need for more housing in and around Whittier, and securing the collective will and vision to create a new wave of economic prosperity for Whittier. District 3 deserves a candidate that can take our city to the next level of prosperity while maintaining our historic values. Whittier needs new leadership with vision. There are those of you out there who may feel fear about change. After all, Kathy has been in city council for 16 years, but it's time. Deep down, you know in your hearts that we can do better. I know we can. No more waste on frivolous lawsuits. No more depletion of our budget surplus. More aggressive investment in our city and economic development and redevelopment structure. So, if you are ready for a change because you want something better than Whittier, vote for me on March 3rd for Whittier City Council District 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez?
Yes, good evening. Thank you all for being here and suffering through this very long meeting here of candidates, but I would like to thank you for your patience. I have been a resident here in Whittier at the same address in the same district for 18 years. and I've raised my family here, and my husband is a Navy veteran as well. We've lived here, and we've been happy living in Whittier. However, I've seen some things happen in Whittier that are not very good. As one of the residents said, I came to Whittier to get out of the ghetto. And he says, and I don't like what I see now. And so I believe in our American dream. I believe in opportunity. I believe in being a good neighbor to the people in the city of Whittier. And I want to see our students enjoy their lives here in Whittier, not see it as something that they had to escape from. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I am a proud member of Whittier Sunrise Rotary, and we sponsor 85 high schoolers that are college-bound for the first time in the history of their parents' lives. This, to me, is powerful. We also sponsor the Battle of the Bands. It's a great community event. It gives back. We give money to the programs for the high schoolers. And please come on March the 20th at 5 p.m. at the Vic Lopez Auditorium. Come and support our future musicians in the city of Whittier. I am a proud Whittierite. I want to continue serving my community. For all the people that know me, I am a community person who loves my city of Whittier. I've lived in Whittier my entire life. I want Whittier to be a safe and clean city, and I will do my best job to represent it well. Can I do it in Spanish?
Yes, you may do it in Spanish.
Yo soy una persona que quiero mucho a mi comunidad. Como una persona en Rotary, nosotros patrocinamos a 85 jóvenes que van al colegio por la primera vez en la vida de sus padres. También ayudamos a los jóvenes en los programas de música. Para mí es muy importante que nuestra ciudad esté limpia y tenemos una ciudad donde podemos vivir a gusto y en un lugar que podemos estar tranquilos. Muchas gracias por tu apoyo. Por favor, salgan a votar en el día 3 de marzo o antes si es posible. Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Thank you, first of all, for everyone coming out here and your time and patience. I know it's a late weekday, but again, I'm born and raised here in Whittier. I can actually say I was born in District 1 at Presbyterian Hospital. So with that, I have my family here. I'm a PTA parent. I'm involved. I'm a member of the Whittier Girls Softball. I really invest in this community. I have a small business here. I'm giving back. I'm committed. I'm the only candidate that I can actually say I walk my district, our District 1, going on a third time now. Door to door. It took me 6-7 months to go from Frontier to now on Broadway on my own. So I'm committed. I want to be your next representative. If you can vote for Andrew Roble, voting starts now. Or if you want to hit the polls, hit the polls. And I hope for your vote, Andrew Roble. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Margot?
She's occupied.
Were you going to do a pros and con about Measure W?
Yes.
It's on the agenda here, but
Yes.
we didn't do it when it was scheduled.
You have heard that there is a sales tax measure on the ballot in the city of Whittier called Measure W. It would levy 3/4 cent transaction and use tax on all the transactions and sales within the city, whether you are a resident of the city or a resident of any other area who comes in here to shop. One of the differences between a transaction tax and a sales tax is that it will capture the tax on automobiles that are purchased by people who live in Whittier and buy them in other places. So that would be a benefit. We have heard about losing nearly all of our car dealerships, and therefore the tax increment that came from those car dealerships. It does not have a sunset, and has the same exemptions for tax-free properties as state law and county law stipulate. So arguments in favor of it: this would keep a portion, of Whittier tax dollars within Whittier, just as Pico Rivera and several other cities in the area who have instituted a tax in the past are able to keep that extra percent. Another argument is that it would generate about $6.3 million per year, and that money goes into the general fund and can be used at the discretion of the city council in the budget process. But items that have been brought up include police protection, homeless programs, libraries, parks, and services to youth and adults. The arguments against, well, officially there is no written argument against it in the ballot pamphlet. However, many people argue that our local tax is high enough, it's nearly 10%, and that people can't really afford to pay that extra 3/4 cent on purchases. And another type of argument against imposing another tax would be that Whittier government officials need to cut out waste and do away with frills and junkets to conventions and other things that are using tax dollars. So it's up to you whether you feel that Whittier should impose this additional 3/4 cent transaction and use tax on purchases made within the city of Whittier. Thank you.
Thank you. Please remember to vote on or before March 3rd. Be part of making Whittier the kind of city you want it to be. So, thank you very much for coming.
Ladies, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're the only ones that are everyone else is running.
Sure do that.
So it makes sense. Thank you very much.